welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The chill of the early spring morning did little to soothe my restless thoughts as I drove back from our family cottage. It had been a solitary weekend, one I'd spent wrestling with the gnawing suspicions that had invaded my peace for weeks. Melissa, my wife of 7 years, had been growing distant, her excuses flimsy like the late March ice on the lake. I arrived home to an empty house, the same as I had left it. Melissa was supposedly on a girls' trip to Montauk, a weekend of sun and sand. But the silence of the house seemed to press on my temples, urging me to unearth the truth that lay hidden just beneath the surface of our married life. Driven by a force I couldn't resist, I headed straight for her study, a place where her personal laptop lay closed, as if guarding the secrets within. My fingers trembled as they tapped the password, our anniversary date, a cruel reminder of better times. The screen flickered to life, displaying rows of recently accessed documents. It was a simple misclick, a fumble guided by fate, that opened her photo library. There they were, pictures not of sun-kissed beaches with her girlfriends, but of Melissa, unmistakably radiant, laughing, her arms draped around men I had never seen before. The backdrop was Montauk, but the narrative was far from the one she had fed me. A pit formed in my stomach as I clicked through more images, each a betrayal sharper than the last. Then I found the videos, Melissa, half naked, surrounded by the same group of men, in what looked like a lavish hotel room. The scenes playing out were not just of infidelity but of an orchestrated deception that sliced through the remnants of our vows. The rage that followed was a tempest, fierce and blinding. I smashed the vase she loved, the pieces scattering across the floor like the fragments of our marriage. Breath heaving, heart pounding, I plotted my revenge not just on her but on the men who smirked through the screen at me, complicit in the unraveling of my life. Hours later, when Melissa walked through the door, her face still flushed with the thrill of her escapades, I was waiting, the images displayed on the screen behind me. Her eyes widened, the color draining from her face as she tried to stammer out an explanation. "There's nothing you can say," I interrupted, the coldness in my voice a contrast to the burning fury within. "I know everything, Melissa. But, Jack, I can explain. Save it. We're done here. I want a divorce." Her protests faded into the background as I detailed the consequences of her actions, each word deliberate, each sentence a nail in the coffin of our relationship. I told her about the emails I had sent to her lovers, exposing them to their own circles, shattering their lives as they had mine. The legal papers were already prepared, a testament to the decisiveness of my decision. Melissa sobbed, pleaded, but the man she was speaking to was no longer the one she had married. That man had been left behind in the cottage, reflecting over a lake as fragile as the trust she had shattered. As she left, the weight of my actions began to settle on my shoulders, heavy but oddly fitting. I turned back to the broken vase, the pieces scattered and sharp. There was no putting it back together. Some things, once broken, were meant to stay that way. The morning after Melissa left, the house felt eerily silent. The stillness was oppressive, a stark reminder of the tumultuous confrontation that had upended everything the night before. I moved through the rooms mechanically, each space echoing back memories of a life that now seemed like a facade. My phone rang, slicing through the quiet. It was Evan, one of Melissa's so-called beach companions, his voice shaky, tinged with panic. "Jack, man, I don't know what you think happened, but it's not." "Save it," I snapped, cutting him off. "I've seen the videos, Evan. What did you think? That it would stay hidden forever?" "It was nothing, just some fun." "It didn't mean anything, Jack." "Nothing." My voice rose, a mix of incredulity and rage. "You call destroying a marriage nothing?" He tried to apologize, stammering, pleading for my understanding, but I was beyond listening. "You'll pay for this," I warned before hanging up. The satisfaction of his discomfort was a small balm, but it was far from enough. I spent the next few hours scouring the internet for the best private investigator I could find. Money was no object. I needed someone who could dig deep and uncover every sordid detail of Melissa's betrayal. I wanted to know who else was involved, how long it had been going on, and most importantly, how to make them all pay. By mid-afternoon, I was sitting across from a PI named Donovan, a man with a reputation for discretion and thoroughness. His office was sparse, clinical, a place for facts, not comfort. I laid out everything, from the incriminating photos and videos to the lies Melissa had told. Donovan listened, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "I can handle this. But I need to know how far you want to go with the information we find." "Far as it takes," I said firmly, the words like a vow. The following days were a blur of activity. Donovan moved quickly, tapping into phone records, bank statements, and even surveillance. Each new piece of evidence was a confirmation of the depth of the deception. The pain was sharp, but it fueled my need for retribution. I also took to social media, crafting posts that exposed Melissa and her lovers. I shared snippets of their escapades, careful to keep within the bounds of legality but pushing the narrative of their betrayal to our circle of friends and beyond. The backlash was immediate. Friends took sides, some were shocked, others disgusted. Melissa's reputation began to crumble, and with it, the lives of those she had dragged into this mess. One evening, as the shadows grew long and the world outside quieted, my phone buzzed. It was a text from another number, one I didn't recognize. "You're ruining lives over a fling that meant nothing to her. You need to stop before this goes too far." The message was meant to be a warning, perhaps even a plea. But all it did was stoke the fires of my resolve. "Too late," I texted back. "The damage is done." That night, as I sat alone in the dark, the contours of my next moves began to take shape. Melissa and her lovers would learn the hard way that actions have consequences, and I was just getting started. The sun was just beginning to set, casting long shadows across the room, when my phone buzzed with an incoming call from Donovan. His voice was clipped, efficient. "Jack, you'll want to see this. I've uncovered more than just the Montauk trip." Melissa wasn't acting alone. My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" "She's connected to someone influential, someone who helped cover her tracks. This goes deeper than just a few flings. I've sent you the files. Meet me tomorrow." As the line went dead, my resolve hardened. This was no longer just a personal betrayal, it was a calculated deceit with more players than I had imagined. That night, unable to sleep, I pored over the files Donovan had sent. They contained bank statements, emails, and photos linking Melissa not only to Evan and the others but to a prominent businessman, someone with both the means and the motive to keep her indiscretions discreet. The implications were staggering, and my mind raced with the possibilities of how to use this information. Morning came, and I was at Donovan's office as the city awoke. We sat across from each other, the files spread out between us. "See this?" Donovan pointed at a series of transactions. Her trips, the hotel, even the gifts, all funded by this guy. His finger jabbed at a photo of a well-dressed man in his 50s. "If we expose him, it could blow the lid off everything." "Let's do it," I said without hesitation, the words cold and deliberate. The plan was set into motion. Using the information we had, I crafted a new series of social media posts, this time targeting the businessman. I laid out the evidence of his involvement with Melissa, hinting at corruption and moral decay. The posts caught fire, shared and reshared, sparking outrage and calls for accountability. Amidst the chaos of the digital storm, Melissa called. Her voice was frayed, desperate. "Jack, please stop this. You're destroying everything. Like you destroyed our marriage." I shot back, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "This isn't just about us anymore. Please, for both our sakes, stop before it's too late. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. It's already too late, Melissa. You should have thought about the consequences before. Hours later, the businessman's company issued a statement, denying the allegations and threatening legal action. But the damage was done. Reporters dug into his past, unearthing more unsavory details, linking him not just to Melissa but to other dubious activities. As the scandal unfolded, Donovan called again. Jack, this is spiraling. We've kicked a hornet's nest. You need to be careful. I'm not done yet, I told him, a fierce determination taking hold. We finish this. That evening, I sat alone in the dim light of my living room, the glow from the television casting flickering shadows. News of the scandal played on every channel, each new report a vindication of my actions. But as I watched the lives I had disrupted unravel, a hollow feeling grew in the pit of my stomach. Revenge had consumed me, burning through the ties that bound me to my former life. I realized then that the path I had chosen would change me forever. There was no turning back, no redemption from the darkness that now enveloped my heart. The price of deceit was high, and we were all paying it. The world had turned cold and gray as I watched the empire I had shaken to its foundations continue to crumble. The media frenzy was relentless, and with each passing day, new revelations about Melissa's affairs and the businessman's corruption surfaced. My campaign of revenge had ignited a firestorm that neither of them could escape. Yet, as the chaos unfolded, a gnawing sense of emptiness grew within me. I had expected satisfaction, a sense of justice, but all I felt was the echo of my own shattered life resonating back at me. One chilly morning, as frost painted the world outside in a crystalline sheen, a knock at my door jolted me from my brooding thoughts. It was Donovan, his face unusually grim. Jack, we need to talk. It's urgent, he said as he stepped inside, brushing off the cold. What's happened now? I asked, though part of me wasn't sure I wanted to know. It's not just about Melissa and the businessman anymore. It's about you. Someone's digging into your life now, digging into your past. I stiffened. What do they want? It's not clear, but they're looking into your business dealings, your financial records. This could get ugly for you too. The revelation hit me like a wave. In my quest for vengeance, I had not considered that I might also become a target. The irony was not lost on me, and a bitter laugh escaped my lips. Who is it? Who's behind this? Donovan shook his head. I'm still trying to figure that out. But we need to be careful. Over the next few days, I doubled down on my efforts to protect myself, enlisting Donovan's help to secure my assets and cover any tracks that might lead back to me. The battle lines were drawn, and I was not about to go down without a fight. But as we fortified our defenses, another shock came. The investigator I had entrusted turned out to be the one who had leaked my information. Donovan had been playing both sides, feeding my enemies just as he had fed me. The betrayal stung, more so because I had considered him an ally in this war I was waging. Confronting him was inevitable. I waited in his office one evening, the anger simmering within me as he walked through the door. Donovan, why? I demanded, standing to face him, the weight of all the lies heavy in the air between us. His face was a mask of regret. Jack, I'm sorry. It started as just another job, but then, they offered me more, and more money. I scoffed, my voice laced with scorn. You sold me out for money. He didn't respond, his silence a confirmation of his guilt. The final move was clear to me then. If I was to fall, I would not fall alone. Using all the information and resources at my disposal, I exposed Donovan. His dealings, his duplicity, his manipulations, all laid bare for the world to see. The public and legal backlash against him was swift and brutal. He lost everything, his career, his reputation, his freedom. As for Melissa and the businessmen, their lives too unraveled beyond repair. Their careers were destroyed, their personal lives left in ruins. In the end, I stood alone amidst the wreckage of the lives I had destroyed, including my own. The hollow victory brought no joy, only the bitter taste of ashes. As I walked away from what remained of my former life, the cold realization settled in my quest for vengeance, I had become the very thing I despised. The cost of betrayal was indeed high, and it had been paid in full by us all.